we're sharing this meeting with a couple guys that couldn't make it. So I'm kind of trying to learn the software that we're going to be using and how to do it. So if I go off into wacky stuff for a few minutes, let me know. All right, so we're going to talk about fouls that are initiated by player contact. So before we start the activity and you start looking at the videos and discussing the fouls and the scenarios that you'll have, let's talk about all the different options we have for fouls when physical contact. Some kind of contact is involved. And I'll just try to write them down really quick. Yell them out. Don't be afraid. Interference. IBC. Holding. Spelled wrong. Okay. More. Tripping. Slashing. Pushing. Come on. Wake up. Okay. Unnecessary roughness. You are. Okay. Illegal screening. Cross checks. Spearing. Fighting. Targeting, which they've given its own special place in the book now. Okay, illegal body checks to the head and the neck. Anything else anybody can think of? You think of anything else?
Just do an illegal body check.
That's the IBC up there. Okay. Now all physical. So when we look at physical contact between two players, okay, those are the type of things we're looking at. So what I've done is each group has a video, and if you read the blue paper gives you a scenario. You can either access the video through the QR code that's there with your phone, okay, or you can type in the URL into your phone and check out the video. Before you look at the video, make sure you understand the scenario, okay? And then we're going to take about 10 minutes to do this. Go through the video, go through the scenario, decide how you think in your scenario that play should be adjudicated if there is a foul, okay? Eric, do you not have a partner? Okay, how about if one of them jump in down here with you? Jack or Stu, can you join Eric at that table? I'm not that worried about Frank or Stu. He's an athlete. Maybe Hernandez can get me. Oh, but you're taking it.
Ooh, go work with Frank. Go work with Frank.
They're good.
I have to go with Brett. Brett doesn't have a way to access the video.
What?
I gotta go with Brett. Doesn't have a way to access the video.
We got to take up a collection. Anybody that's on AT&T that has an old phone, we're just going to give it to Brett. Guy lives in the 60s. He's freaking 20 years old.
Hey, Barlotta has a smartphone now.
Hernandez on the face off.
Which one's that? Is that the one I fell? Which one was that one?
I don't think it was you. I don't have the one of you falling down. I can promise you that.
Oh, the Dover one?
Yeah,
when we were
over Indian River, wasn't it? Got tripped over the bags because they had them like right next to the freaking field.
I don't know. Yeah, I knew they were going to blow at 8.
Because it's 15.
What's going on here? Acting like getting hurt.
I don't know which team is up. Yeah, the referee basically scored, you know. They're getting. You could do that just to keep it clean. If it was 15 orders are below the shoes, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Really?
Which one did you get?
Off the face off.
Pretty easy.
Great.
Well, like I said,
He's like sitting there fiddling with his stick, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be like some sort of like weird illegal procedure or something. And the guy just comes in and murders him. Oh my gosh.
Sanford Tower.
Is it one of the videos?
Or our guy. But it was used on a Facebook group for trainers and whatnot.
That's a good video.
Yeah.
You're gonna start to get some hot heads. You're actually not running. Most likely. That's how I would go. Well, because Tony yeah, how would you handle it? Yeah, I agree. That's right. That makes sense. I still would, you know what I mean? Unless. No, I still would think who was the one? Okay, so 30 seconds.
He's playing it or working?
Probably playing it.
Just by me reading, there's a lot of
I would hope he didn't bring the flyer.
No, yeah, I already talked to him.
Oh, I thought that's it.
I know. Contact with Bobby Gallagher.
That's for the
He's gonna get out. My son's cool. I've seen he's been on the loser What's that? Yeah. They were talking about it in our meeting about break out again. Randy Morgan was there. But they were still
All right, guys, about 2 more minutes and then we'll move ahead.
Yeah, and you let them know.
All right, go ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah, I just gotta pay the rest of the thing. I don't know when. I know they usually send you
Is that what got you in trouble? Yeah, guilty.
All right, so let me get everyone's attention. We're gonna kind of go over these quickly by ourselves. I'm gonna ask that nobody, there's no solicitation going on during the meeting, nobody promoting their own private tournaments or anything like that. I'm trying to sell you a car too. All right, so giving you several, we have a bunch of different videos of different types of plays that involve contact. And then each video, there's two different scenarios. So if you're an odd numbered group, your scenario is basically you're in a tight game. You know, two teams that are playing well. You've had one very kind of minor foul that I think in my scenario, we actually wiped the foul off because a goal was scored, but it was an offsides or something. So these guys have played well. And at a certain point in the game, this happens. So I'm going to let everybody see, and then I'm going to let group one kind of talk about what they saw. All right, so we'll look at it one more time. I think I got to go back. All right, one more time. All right, so group one, close played, well played game. What'd you guys have?
Good slide on the crease, loose ball push, one close.
Okay, so they had nothing on the big hit on the crease. Okay, they did in that scrum, they found a loose ball push. Okay, which would be your option or not. I'll be honest, I probably didn't really see it from there because the only guy I saw on the ground was on his butt. The guy does come into the pile. Okay, but you could use that loose ball push as a way of getting the ball back up off the ground and going on.
Doesn't it look like he's hitting the guy in the head and the shoulder?
Yeah,
He doesn't. I looked at it several times, and he does not. He does not. He does not make any. There was no head contact, and JP looked at these with me too to make sure. You know, it's a good tough.
The guy who's down stooping is defenseless if he gets hit in the head and the shoulder.
But he didn't get hit in the head.
He does.
Does not get hit in the head.
Okay.
Not with anything that in a situation that isn't incidental. There's no force to it. No. It's not a dangerous hit. It looks bad from the nice big angle where Mom is, but on the field, I don't think it looks as bad as it is. But I think you guys, that's a nice way to do it. You could have thrown in the loose ball push or let them play it through, and that's up to you. In a situation like that, though, you call that or don't call it, you're measured against that the rest of the game or what you've already done. So obviously by throwing no flags, you've let them play.
When that hit two, though. When that hit two, you made that okay.
You made that hit okay in that game.
First hit, and I'd like to hear everybody in this room.
So let's see how the guys, the even number groups, so group two has, it's a blowout game. We're approaching running time in the fourth quarter. You've had a ton of flags on both teams. Okay, it's not one team out there head hunting. They're both you know, it's a physical game, probably not real skilled. Okay, we won't try and guess what schools they might be. Somebody's feelings will get hurt, but we'll just say it wasn't the best played game. So what did you guys come up with?
I thought we had a retaliation hit on the other one, but we're watching it on the screen.
Okay.
So when he was on the loose ball, that's what I was.
Did you have anything on the first hit, maybe?
He did. I didn't see it.
I saw the slide come in, and the guy came high with his fist more than he needed to, and intentionally put the guy on his butt. He doesn't need to make that play. He needs to interfere with the lacrosse play for the benefit of his team. He doesn't need to try to hurt the other guy.
In a game like you have, but in his game,
Yeah, close game.
you're gonna hopefully we're gonna let some of those go.
Yeah.
But I kind of had the unnecessary roughness at the beginning. I had it maybe in two places.
Yeah, that's
On the same
that's
team,
actually what we
If you didn't call it on a slide, which was it was a good slide, but in a tough game, you know, where you've thrown a lot of flags already, you know, and you need to keep control, it would probably, you could call either or both. Okay, so there was one where the guy slides across the crease and takes him out, and then there's the other one where the guy just tries to finish out the
Yeah,
foul.
he just cleaned it out.
You know, either one of those, you probably could and should in that scenario. So the point is, with somebody, you know, the way we do the rules is, all the rules have gray areas. So either kind of a gray area between what could be what might be unnecessary roughness and what might be legal, because remember, unnecessary roughness says it could be a legal hit. But at that point, it's your judgment that it's unnecessary, and you're going to use that to control the game. Okay? If there's also sometimes maybe some gray area between what was unnecessary roughness here and a push over here, you know, a loose ball push. So that's what I'm trying to get us to kind of look at, is that different kind of gray areas and ways of managing our games, allowing guys to continue to play, but keeping control of the game. You know, in the second situation, you don't call something there, chances are somebody on the field is going to take offense to it and take care of it, and then you've got bigger problems. And that's what I think
That's what it looked like.
in those cases we're trying to prevent it. All right. So let's look at the second. This is for groups 3 and 4. Okay. Let's look at it one more time. There's really nothing after that. All right, so group 3, close game.
First of all, we have a loose ball, so we're looking for players within 5 yards of the ball. Pretty hard to distinguish on our cell phones, but a little more determined here, whether or not the intent of one of the players in going for the ground ball was his intent deliberately to hit one of the players. It looked like they didn't have possession at the time of the hit occurring, but it did look like he came up with a score on it. So, unnecessary roughness.
Okay, so in a close game, you're thinking unnecessary roughness.
Leave about a check either one.
Let me see if on the bigger screen I can slow it down a little bit. We can. It's hard to slow down.
Depends if you have possession. Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah, and that's in my opinion, that's the gray area here. So clearly the ball's within 5 yards of everything that happens. So you don't have that. Okay. There's no nobody's on the ground. You know, there's nothing there really that you could call an illegal body check in my mind. So the question is, was there possession or not? In my opinion, if it's a gray area in a close game, we're going to let it go. Let them play. You know, it was a man ball situation. In my opinion, I think that kid made a pretty good effort. Okay. Yeah, he ends up on the ground, but this, you know, it's a physical game. You know, so I think in that case, you know, you probably want to try to let that go in the close game situation. Because again, we go back to here, You call that unnecessary roughness, you call it a legal body check, you call it whatever in that game, now you're stuck with that for the rest of the game in a close game. Okay? So close game, how many guys would leave it alone? I'd leave it alone, because I think that's where you start to interject yourself in the game. You know, I mean, our job is to manage the game, and in some games, guys will tell you you overmanaged. You know, you controlled the game, you took it over. You know, you were too involved, and I think that's a case where you're getting too involved. You're not letting the kids settle it.
The other thing, I didn't think it was a tremendous hitting.
Yeah.
You see the guy wobble.
I mean, it looks kind of bad because the kid ends up out of the play, but
Yeah.
hey,
Play it from the beginning.
it's a loose ball that comes across. You know, the kid's running, he takes a lot of steps, but he's also going after a ball.
It's a loose ball.
All right, the other group, Frank and Ben, what'd you guys come up with?
I have a real question about the perspective of that official, that's the goal line official. He's the one that can see what is it that that player uses to make that contact. Because from where I'm sitting here, there's questionable as to whether or not he's using his arm and elbow to come high on that man he's taking out. I want to see his the stick into his body, and I want to see his chest. I probably would have thrown a flag on that from where I'm sitting. I don't know if I would have thrown a flag on it from where that guy's standing.
Right, and that's the problem with looking at it from here. To me, I think in certainly in your situation, you got a blowout, especially if in this case, because it's not a severe safety issue, but in this case, you know, maybe the white team is, or which team is it that actually makes the head?
Red.
The red. So if the red team is up, you know, you might want to look at doing something to even it up. And you certainly have unnecessary roughness. Maybe if his arm came up, you might have an illegal body check. You certainly could get away with a moving screen and just give the ball and go the other way. You could. You know, there's a gray area because you don't really know, and I don't know on the field if you know, did he pick it up before contact was initiated and all that.
What's the case for a three-man crew? Because it's a very competitive game like this,
The trail's going to have much more focus on it because he's going to be right in front of it. Yeah. So, but again, we're trying to think too of competitive balance and interjecting ourselves too much into games and whatnot. Ken.
My only problem with that on the blowout game, I would have called it a legal screen because the simple reason that we open ourselves up to something festering later on that, you know, we don't always stop.
And that's why I think you could go either way. You know, you could say potentially you could get, you know, especially if it's against the team that's getting killed. But again, you've had flags on both teams. But you would have probably different calls in different situations. You know, and to Frank's point, yeah, if you see the guy's elbow come up and hit him, you got to call that. But we can't see that from here, and we don't know what he's seeing right there. All right, video number 3.
I can't either.
All right. 2. Tower Hill, Sanford. 1 goal game. What do you got? Oh, okay. Well, hold on. Kyle, your group back there.
If I haven't seen any other like crazy aggressive stuff from that kid,
Okay, let's see what Pooh had.
I have a blowout 15-2 with 3 minutes left in the third quarter. Multiple penalties on both teams in the game so far, mostly personal fouls. I'm ejecting us. Like not even close.
My opinion would be if you're going to eject him in one, you're going to eject him in another. The criteria is all, it shouldn't matter because it's a safety thing. And what I want to work with us as we go on through our training is kind of, because we're starting to talk more about ejections. There's more and more in the rule book about ejecting players. And I'm trying to figure out a way to come up with where you kind of start checking off boxes. So in this one, certainly the kid is defenseless, okay? I think he gets hit in the head. The kid took a ridiculous run, so you definitely have an unnecessary roughness, excessively violent. So bang, 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 we got 3. It doesn't matter in that game and what that kid did. I think he's gone. You know, I don't think you keep that kid around. You know, to me, I think that's a pretty clear ejection. There might be other things we have that aren't as clear, but that has no place in the game.
I think, like you said earlier, if you don't do that and you don't release it, they're going to release it, and there will definitely be retaliation. We see it again. If you let that kid, we see it again. We see it again.
Everybody wants to see the nasty.
I can't either.
Okay. And he even turns, you know, he has an opportunity to stop, and he turns back into the kid. You know, he had one thing in mind. Okay. Now the only thing I'm going to say is when we get to that ejection on that big hit, you all come together and you talk about it. Now, you can't see what happens at the end. My guess is it involves ambulances and other things. Okay. The kid certainly didn't just pop up, scoop the ball up, and run down and score. Chances are he's not coming back in that game. He's probably not playing in the next couple of games. And I remember, and I told JP this when we were discussing it, in this room when Doc was still alive and they started throwing in the idea of ejecting players, his perspective was, okay, what happened to the kid that got fouled? He ain't going to play, so his team certainly is without him for the rest of that game, probably not going to play the next game. You know, we're going to start to talk about a little bit of justice here. You know, what's fair, what's right. And that kid needs, you know, he needs to get off the field and be taught that that's not what we're doing, you know, before he gets back on. Okay? All right. We good with that one? Group number. So right here we have this group. Unfortunately, I didn't scratch out the foul that US Lacrosse said it was, but I still think it's a good example. And I want to go back and there you see it at the beginning. All right. So first group, close game.
Going by what we had seen, we disagree with US Lacrosse here. He had started the check as he was shooting. His bang bang play. He got him below the shoulders, with his shoulder, not with his head, from the front.
Anybody disagree with?
This was by majority decision.
Okay. Anybody else in the room disagree? Anybody agree with Greg that there was an illegal body check? Okay. What made it illegal in your mind in that there? Huh? You agree that it was no call? It's clean. Okay.
My only points on that play where I think if you look at it real slow, that he also, first of all, he hits him after the ball is released. So he cannot be doing anything to that player to affect the ball or the action at that point. The second thing is, to me, the thing that makes it illegal is when I look at that, I see him make a slight move to the right at the player.
Okay.
And
leave his feet.
in that situation, he has no, that will accomplish nothing to affect the shot.
All right. Now here are my questions for you, Greg. When he hits him, is the ball 5 yards away? Clearly, in your mind, can you say definitively that the ball is 5 yards away? Okay. And You know, it's definitely one of those, it's a gray, to me, it's a perfect gray area hit. I almost feel like the kid turns away from the direct hit. You know, yeah, his momentum carries him in and he drops a little bit into him. But in a close game, I don't believe we really have anything. And I think if you call that, again, you're married to that hit as a foul.
And as Tom said, I think, in this context, our context was a close game, no penalties except the offside straight ball. That, I think, would come into this play, and you would not call it based on the context of this game.
Okay.
But just without any context, I still.
Okay. Now, let's see what the other group had.
Yeah, so we thought the same thing until we saw our scenario. So our scenario was a blowout. There's a lot of penalties in the game already and the personal calls. So I'm throwing the flag just to keep consistency with personal calls. So you go lucky.
And I think that's a great point, because I think even though we didn't do the whole game, you can kind of say you probably had that hit 3 or 4 other times in the game. It's a pretty routine type of lacrosse hit. So if you passed on all that stuff for the whole game, why are you going to go now? But if you have a million flags, you've probably flagged it a couple times. And the other thing too, honestly, you're getting close to running time. You know, we kind of, in our blowout, we want to get into that running time. So let's and hopefully if it's in running time, certainly. The thing I was afraid when I first saw it that a couple guys would get suckered into that first little thing as a illegal body check below the legs. But he's just beat, you know?
He got broke ankles.
Yes. So I wouldn't call the first thing for anything. I mean, the kid just fell, and he's actually probably more trying to. So, and that's not, you know, in either case, there's not any real danger to the kid. It's not a safety foul. Now, in that case, if he had come in really hard and punched out and cleared, then you might have a penalty in any game. You know, because now player safety, and you don't want to lose control of player safety. All right. This is next group. I think this is Mark, and then these guys in the front, right? Oh, I thought I cut out. He threw the flag. Oh, well. All right. Do you guys have a penalty?
Yes, sir.
What do you have? Okay. All right. Stop right there. You guys, do you have anything?
Push with possession.
You had a push.
30-second technical.
Okay. Let's look at it again. And I don't disagree in either, you know, you certainly have a push. I just wonder, in a rough game, you have a chance, you know, and I'm not saying to always go this way, but if it's been a rough physical game, you could sell a cross check.
But it's not. The scenario is just even.
I'm saying in a rough game. In your game, you got to call the push. As much as you don't want to, you know.
No, I want to.
Yeah. Well, because yeah.
And I told Greg, if you go early in the game, I would hit him with a cross check that set the tone.
Okay.
But it looked like that's what he was trying to do.
And you could do that. It changes your scenario later in the game, but because again, once you call that a cross check, now it's a cross check. My question for these guys is, could you have called it a cross check just to try to keep control of the game? Could you sell a cross check? Couldn't sell a cross check. He's got his hands like this.
Nice lacrosse.
Far side from the bench.
They could be minutes.
Yeah.
It's a
Go the other way a second. He comes at it pretty hard, and he obviously shoves it. What if he just kind of sat there and he gives it just enough of a love tap that he steps out of bounds? Technically, the kid's got possession. He was pushed. But now he's got a 30-second penalty for a little hip bump. That's the one I got trouble.
Yeah. And I, you know what?
Yeah.
That's
Push
Ray.
out.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's the video I wanted and I couldn't find it. You know, I wanted that. You know, what do you do with the kid? He's stumbling on the line and the kid's trying to get a check in, or, you know, do you have equal pressure? Was he just there and he ends up out of bounds? Now you're stuck. You got to call something.
You gotta call something.
Here, I guess my point was I don't like anything on the line. You know, that kid kind of turned and the other kid was kind of moving already, but he hadn't made contact, so you couldn't say he turned. You know, I mean, it's easy. Mark's right. It's simple. You got to call it. I don't like to call anything near the line. I really wanted yours I wanted the kid also just clearing the kid out. You know, so now what do you got in a close game? You know, falling over, stumbling, you know, they're both playing hard for a ball. The kid just picks up a ball and then he gets clocked, you know, all those kind of things. And there's no great answers, but it's all game management. I think you know, in a rough game, you could sell a cross check. It's certainly not, there's not a big safety issue there. He didn't come right across his back, but he is playing with his hands apart. And maybe you want to try to get them to think about getting their hands together when they're playing defense and not get as many fouls. So, all right, right here, this group and the next group. Uh-oh. Yep, here we go.
Every day, it's so slow.
All right. Goodwin, you guys back there?
Yeah, we got together and we gave him a illegal body check to the defensive player and locked him in for 2 minutes.
Okay. Let's see. Let's look at it again. Okay, he honestly, and this is part of the problem too. I think we're talking so much about these big hits and defensive players. You start to look for it maybe where it really isn't. I think he knows the kid's coming and he even braces himself a little bit. Okay? You know? So, do we still have the defenseless player? Okay. You got Mike. Do you guys have anything in your rough game?
I'm gonna give him more out and give him an unnecessary roughness because he extended through it.
Okay. And I think you could sell that. Now, when he extended through, in their scenario, did he hit anything? Yeah. Hey guys, let's stay over here for a minute. So, go ahead.
Ran down the field 5 to 8 yards, you know, and then the other player did look at him, so he braced himself. But then he just extended through with a body block. So unnecessary rough, he knocked him on his ass.
And in your scenario, absolutely. I think in a closer game, the 5 to 8 yards doesn't really matter in my mind because they're both going after a loose ball. That ball came rolling back. He's running after a loose ball. He didn't line him up. He didn't do any of that. Now, I pulled this one out of a discussion with a bunch of U.S. lacrosse trainers and state coordinators, and they were all over the place with it. And a lot of them came with that elbow. You know, he extends his elbow. What does his elbow hit?
Body.
Chest.
It hits nothing.
It's air.
It's actually, and again, we have the ability with video to slow it down and check it frame by frame. It's actually physics that causes his elbow to come out. He's getting hit. The other guys, he's bracing, and as they come apart, his hands come up. He doesn't hit anything. But a lot of guys with a lot of experience say, oh, yeah, you know, he came up high. Hey, he came up high and he hit air. But again, the point is, in your close game, that's a great man ball. And if you look at it even further, the white kid who you all thought got crushed, his team gets the ball and runs down the field. So there again, there's no disadvantage going on. There's really not a lot there other than, to me, that's the one where you hope to see that team jumping up and down and hooting and hollering because it's a nice hit. But again, you get to the blowout game and the game management, a lot of people see it a lot differently. And I think you want to kill it. You got a loose ball, you got an opportunity to kill it and slow the game down.
Oh, the other thing is you want to come together and talk.
Certainly come together if you throw a flag. You can't come together on a no call. But, so, all right, last one. Last one. And we need to see it in slow motion.
What's the question?
Well, there's a point to it, Frank. Don't worry. All right. So, Ryan and Mark, you guys have a close game. It's tight. What do we got?
This is the only one we disagree on.
Okay.
He's on his hands or his arm. He's in attack control. It's not out of control. That's a solid play. His free hand's not on his back. I mean, if you don't expect to get whacked on the gloves running up the field and clearing the ball, then someone's not doing their job on the ride.
All right. And
I can't really tell whether it's the glove or not. He's on the opposite side of the player. He's on the back side of that player. So it's hard to see whether it hits the glove or not.
He hits that glove. That's impressive.
well, hopefully our trail official.
He hits him in the shoulder or the back. It's a slash.
He gets him. He actually gets him above the shoulder pad. Okay. Or above the not the shoulder pad, above the arm pad. Dean, what did you have?
I said he just got him on the glove and just saw that because it was a close game.
You had the blowout.
Too. I had the blowout.
You had the blowout? Okay. All right. I think in my mind, if he comes under, you got nothing. But when he comes over top, full force, it doesn't matter. It's a slash. He comes from here to here, and he's beat. He's beat hard, and it's not, and he hits him, and again, if the trail is running on this side, he's probably going to pass. But if you're on this side and you're behind the play, with video and all that today, I think it's a tough one to pass on. That's one that's going to hurt. I think he did. I think he did.
As hard as he could, no, but.
That's Gilman Loyola. I guarantee you he threw it as hard as he could. No, that's not. I don't think that's a love tap.
He's a righty second with left hand.
So.
Is that man really good at letting go outside hurt? Ryan, start thinking next level. Next level, that's on tape. You get a call. Why didn't you call that? That's what they're looking at. That's an attack.
And the cue there, the cue is he's up here. He's not down here. He's up here.
That's an attack.
You generate a lot of force.
That's an attackman.
You do this one. You do this one. Come around.
That's an attackman that got beat, and that's the call that they're looking for.
Yeah.
If he's beat and he's running from behind, you got to throw the flag.
So again, we have a lot of gray areas, and there's everybody sees things a little differently. My point here is really looking at game management. Okay, to me, that's a safety. That slash is a safety foul, and that's why I put it in there. It's unsafe. It's going to cause the same amount of damage in the blowout as it is in a close game. And he does get him very high. So, yes, Frank.
Well, I was just going to say one of my benchmarks that I always look for is the player's hands. Once a player's hands go behind the frontal plane of his body, for him to then throw a stick, that's an uncontrolled stick. If you read on page 63 in our brand new book, Article 1, swinging across an opponent's crossed body with deliberate viciousness or reckless abandon, regardless of whether the opponent's cross the body is struck. That's uncontrolled stick.
Yeah. And that's a good point. And that's, when the other part of the scenario, and we didn't talk about it a lot in our discussion, was how are you going to explain it to the coach? Coach, it was uncontrolled. He was out of control. He was beat. He was out of control. And again, you go back to, so the kid from Loyola, his teammate sees that. He comes back even harder. Oh, I can get away with this. I can get away with this. So, and especially at our level here in the great state of Delaware, there really shouldn't be a question about that one. All right. So here we are. Here's our general membership meeting. Thank you for taking care of that. When we get done, just make sure you pile the laminated papers up in case we want to use those again someday. 2019 U.S. Lacrosse, our theme is taking care of our crew, or your crew. Okay, so, and that's a lot of things. Okay, that's you get these calls, and some of these groups didn't agree, but it's agreeing. It's not going back later and saying, "Now, well, Coach, I had it." It's making sure your crew is prepared and ready for the game. It's making sure that you've done everything you can do, that you're in condition. And when we talk about the crew, we're talking about the crew of 2 or 3 guys or girls that go to a game, but we're also talking about all of us. We're all working hard, we're all planning, we're all preparing. So as we go through the year, we'll talk a little bit about taking care of your crew, thinking about your crew, helping them to improve, and all of that. All right, general business. So we'll start, again, I want to welcome everybody to 2019. I do want to recognize a couple of people. So we have an applicant class, and I think we have 4 guys here today. So if they could stand up real quick. So we have Eric, Kyle, and George. They're all new officials. Many of you know Tommy. Some of you watched him play. Some of you watched him coach. Some of you probably been involved in games he's officiated, because Tommy and his family have been involved and very, very important members of our community of lacrosse in Delaware for a long, long time. So we're very glad to have Tommy back. It's a great re-addition to our group. We're excited. And the rest of the guys, our meetings have been great. Great questions, great work. These are going to be some great guys to work with. So, and then also just one other guy you might not, Ken, is a guy, he's a member of SLOA, but he'll be working up here a little bit and joining us for some games. So he'll be adding on and helping us out. So now, Dean, with the treasurer's report.
Current balance right now is $3,638.52 in the account. Last year for 2019, I collected dues from 59 guys at $25. So we brought in $1,475. Our expenses came out to about $1,100. They include the association gifts, the arbiter fee we have to pay for the extra signer, executive board meeting, the all-star game, and W-2s or 1099s, and the sportsmanship award we do. So we actually had a net increase to the account of like almost $400. So I mean, well, it'll get spent somehow. You got to remember when we took over, when Jimmy turned it over, we had like $3,000 in there. So we've been pretty much 3,000 forever. So we've been through a lot with that. Last year I sent out 58 invoices, totaling $96,500. So you remember all that money that goes out, in invoices, gets paid out, between the assigner fees and dues and things like that. So that's a wash in the system. All of our work on the banquet was a wash. There was no hits coming out of our account for that. So our play date fees covered the expense of the banquet. And also, just for those that contributed last year, we donated $1,252 to Doc Fund at University of Delaware.
And I think we need to step that up, because I think they spent all that on sending us more stuff to get more money.
I get double. I get it for the association and for
Holy cow.
Anybody have any questions?
How did it work out collecting the money from scrimmages? Was that the
It was the second season. So getting the donations. I mean, that's what covered the banquet.
Yeah, how did it work
Yeah,
out?
the banquet cost us around 1,100 hours, 1,200 hours. We actually kind of set a budget for it this year. So, we got, monies from various schools, gave the play days.
So it wasn't much of a deterrent for some schools.
No, and we're going to talk more about that in a minute. They want to pay us for scrimmages. The only thing holding us up right now is the Board of Governors or whatever you call it, the DIAA. But we'll get into that in the meeting a little bit and how we're working on handling that. Any more questions for Dino? Greatest treasure in the history of the universe. So this year, as we move forward with our commitment to U.S. lacrosse, JP went out and he is now a certified U.S. lacrosse assigner. That gives us a lot of it means that he's well trained. It shows when we go out looking for business beyond the DIAA that he's very qualified and all of that. And we already know he's pretty qualified.
So there's a lot of changes with the Arbiter this year. I had to upgrade every school, and it's taken a long time. So by this time last year, I had a lot of schedules finished. There's not one schedule started this year. So I think by the rules meeting last year, I could have pushed publish, and I didn't. It's going to be a little bit longer this year. I'm hoping for February 15th for the schedules to be out. That's still a lot earlier than they have been in years past, but I still have to upgrade some of the schools. With Website for Sports, very quickly, Website for Sports has AI DuPont High School. Arbiter has Alexis I DuPont High School. Website for Sports imports it. It imports it as AI. Arbiter doesn't recognize that. I have to upgrade it every time. So it's taken a long time. So once I get everything upgraded and all of the schedules are finalized, I can start assigning schedules. I don't know if we're going to talk about it today, but schedules are going to be manipulated so that veterans are working with new guys. Crews are put together strategically. It's going to take me a little bit longer this year. So I'm hoping for February 15th at the absolute latest. The first round will be published February 20th at the latest. So still, I mean, that's a good 20 days before the schedule start or the season starts. So I'll get there. Just bear with me. Make sure your availability is up to date. Make sure your blocks are up to date. If you're not sure how to do that, there are videos in the Arbiter that will show you how to do your blocks. If there's something that's funky with your work schedule, you can't get out at this time, or you can't, just send me an email and we'll work through things like that. All right, any questions?
I had trouble emailing it right on this. Apparently, Apple doesn't support part of the programming that the Arbiter uses, so you can't use it. But I was trying to use it on an iPod. I can't do it on an iPod. Probably can do it on an Apple computer or any of the Android systems.
Which is that?
Scheduling? You mean like
when you sent me those things about a point or your invitation?
Okay.
It doesn't fully open on an iPod. I had to go to a computer to open it up, find out what it was. And
does it open on flip phone?
So Greg sent out. So Greg sent out some invitations to the meetings, and to see that, it's going to be on your schedule, but you have to change the filter. So if you go to filter and it'll say all events or all, click on all, and then it should show up. That might have been the issue, because I know everything works on my phone. I don't know. I mean, we can look at it, but if you have questions like that, give me a call. It's easier to talk about it on the phone, and I can walk you through it that way. But
Yeah, I don't have the Arbiter open. I don't want to spend the time, but
Or are you going to publish the schedule?
I'm going to try and get it all done. But if it gets to be like February 10th and I only have half of it done, then I'll send out a message and let everybody know. Just bear with me. I'll get through it.
okay, Mike Wilbur, Vice President, he's also going to be heading up our mentorship program, which many of you will be hearing about. So he's going to talk about that a little bit.
We're going to push the mentorship program this year. We talked about it in the past. We've paired up a lot of people. Some of them are in here today. KK in here?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, you're paired up with Verlotta. Goodwin, you're in here, aren't you? Yeah. You're paired up with Townsend, Ray Forney with Boo, Josh Gibbon with me, Andrew Holtz with Frank Fry, Rob Lowick with Hernandez, Ben Merritt with Dunn, Mark Quillen with Patrone, Adam Sterrett with Daniker, Clint Willie with Steve Tryon, Chuck, I'm not going to pronounce your last name, probably not in here, with Gallagher, and Frank Holland with Nutter. Okay, that's the start of it this year. The brand new guys are going to be stuck with Greg and with Karen Bathis, who's also a U.S. lacrosse trainer. Guys that are here tonight, please pick up, or you can pass out tonight. This is basically the program, and the first few games you're going to be paired up together. So it's been a little bit of getting the rust off training, those first 3-4 games of the year. Then you're going to have someone you're going to be able to talk to, run scenarios through, run questions through, some rules, interpretations, etc. When you have a question, you talk. The mentors are going to call the other guys to have things going. So it's going to be a combination of cross-talk both ways. At the end, later on in the season, you're going to get back together again for a couple games here and there. We're going to see how things are going. At the end of the season, both the mentors and the people being mentees, you're going to get back with the board with suggestions on training things. You're going to get back to the board with how the program went, so we can change it up next year. That's why we don't have brand new guys doing this. So there's, if you guys are thinking that you're the youngest guys out here and most least experienced, no, we need someone to have a little bit of knowledge so you can come back with some suggestions. We're trying to build the program to get it better every year. So if you are in the program, hopefully I've got enough of these sheets here today. Please grab one of these sheets and place explains what it is. Thank you. Any questions?
And hopefully this really leads to more consistency among our crews. Consistency is a big word that coaches throw at us, and everybody, they want everything to be consistent across the board. So hopefully by working, some of our guys who have some experience and been around for a little while can help out and lead to some consistency. Hold on.
I'll email you out also, gentlemen.
Hey, can you see the chat? See, somebody just added a chat. All right. Wait a minute. Back up. And then Mike Hernandez, youth lacrosse.
All right. I still got to discuss with Frank about how the exact schedule is going to work. I was going to call you next week. I know it's still January.
There is no DLOA right now, or DYLA.
Yeah.
So I have no idea what's going on. I have told people.
Yeah. I know the main update I have for you guys right now, Milford Lacrosse is technically no more. It is now Bucks Lacrosse, and they're going to play their games on Saturdays at DE Turf. So if you guys have availability, especially on Saturdays, I can use it, but just remember, high school for JP comes first. If you guys are available and not working for him, you're more than welcome to come help me out with that, okay? And like I said, we got to still figure out what's going on Sundays.
So the whole club, or is it a split?
No, it's the whole club. They're no longer playing in Milford. They are just playing at DE Turf. There's a Bucks Lacrosse for the boys, and there's the Diamond Lacrosse for the girls. So if you guys want to do games, please email me or text me. I'll also make sure that's in the next email Greg sends out. And I'll make sure I'll put you on the list, and I'll send out an email in the beginning of the week once we get started. Ask for your availability, and then I'll send out the schedule a little bit later in the week, like Wednesday or Thursday. Want to get that done. You guys have any questions about that? All right.
All righty. All right, moving on. So meetings and training. You're expected to attend all meetings and training sessions. The bylaws require attendance at least 3 meetings to remain in good standing. Okay, mostly it's no problem at all. We need everybody to be here. We've batted around for a few years different ways of raising attendance and making sure, you know, guys can come. We know we have the north-south issue. You know, we tried kind of having some meetings down south and some meetings up north, and it ended up, you know, north guys would come to north meetings, south guys would go to south meetings. And we tried splitting the meetings and all that. So this year, other than this meeting and our election meeting at the very end of the year, meetings will be online. And the goal is to get guys into the meetings. You know, you're sitting at home, you should be able to come to the meeting. There's not a commute problem. We always have meetings on Sundays. They're posted way ahead of time. I also will be recording the meetings, and throughout the meeting, we'll throw something up there that will be up there for a second, or we'll say something, and then kind of like the DIAA makeup, if you've ever had to do that, there'll be a little quiz, and you can get credit, you know, like you actually went to the meeting. The purpose of doing this, again, is consistency. You know, if you're at 1 or 2 meetings and you're at a meeting and you're at a meeting, and then we're all kind of, well, I think he said this and I thought he said that. We're all getting the same information. We're all getting the same training. We're all kind of doing things the same. The field training, which is on the schedule, and I'll show it to you, that's something I really, really want everybody to come. I put it up there as mandatory. I think it's going to be very good. We had a good meeting with what is our training committee, which is myself, Mike, JP, Karen Bathurst, and Chris Patrone, who's working towards becoming a certified U.S. lacrosse trainer. So we all got together, and I think we have a pretty good program for our field training. We're going to have it at UD this year. We're going to have it in the middle of the day. It's still in February, but hopefully there'll be a little bit of sunshine. It's not on a day everybody's got to go to work. And all that. And then afterwards, we're going to do our little tailgate with Jack that, you know, hopefully come together and have some social time and all that. So I think that'll be a big and important day. All of the meetings are posted right now on our site, DelawareLaxRef.org. And in a minute, I'm going to show you a couple things on the site, and I'll show you where you can find that. I'm also, as Bill kind of referred to, I'm going to add all the meetings as events in Arbiter. So you'll get a reminder, you'll get it, you'll be able to see it on a schedule as far as when the meetings are, whether it's online or not. I'm going to try and have a link to the online meetings right there in that Arbiter event. So all you got to do on the day of the meeting is click on it and get in, and we'll go from there. So the online meetings, you can access them from any computer, any kind of tablet that is a Android, Google, Apple, Windows platform. There'll be some participation. Some of it will be webinar style. The only issue with them is if I show videos like I did tonight, they become jumpy and grainy. What I'm going to try to do is post the videos in like a YouTube playlist, so that as I'm referring to them, you could minimize the meeting and actually look at the video in full screen, in full, you know, full speed, and see what we're talking about. But that is our schedule. The 14th is our election meeting. And Frank will have more about that later, as far as nominations and voting and all that. This is a full election year, so everybody's position is up for election. As you can see, the 24th, that is the on-field training at UD, and then February 4th is the DIA Rules Clinic, 7 o'clock back at Smyrna this year. And Kevin Hawkins will be there if you need equipment. Okay. A couple other important things. If you're online, you can you click the link, boom, you go in, you select what sound you want to use on your computer, whether it's a headset or the onboard sound on your computer, and go. if you're on a phone, like I think Chris Patrone is online with us today. Was supposedly trying to catch a ferry to get Cape May. He's got to go to New Jersey for business, so he was going to try and listen in. So there's a lot of, and I think he is. Is that yeah? Chris is on a phone, so he's listening in. So you can listen.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Chris.
Hi.
Welcome. Congratulations on being a trainer. So, there's a lot of options to get into the meeting. February 3rd, Polar Bear Plunge. In case you missed it, the Eagles are not in the playoffs anymore. The Saints are not in the Super Bowl. So you have no reason to not come and join us at the Polar Bear Plunge. I'll talk about that in a little while. It's something very near and dear to my heart. We had a lot of fun with the guys that went last year, and we're looking to get more guys. So I'll have a slide about that in a minute. June 5th, the banquet and golf outing. Mike Barlotta does a great job with that. Karen helps him. It's become a very good event, kind of a way to really celebrate everybody. We will have a coach speaking this year. So Coach DuPont from Tower Hill will be our keynote speaker. We also will be giving out our Doc Award this year to somebody. I'm not going to tell you who. You got to come and see. So that should be a great time. Optional. So June 10th is the All Lacrosse Banquet. The Delaware Lacrosse Foundation. That's in Dover. I'll have more about that later. And then June 11th is the Senior All-Star Game, where a lot of us like to get together and we officiate that game. It's a lot of fun.
With the All-Star Game last year, they were talking about running the boys and the girls game concurrently to make it easier on getting everybody out of there. Wow. Is there any more talk on that, or you guys?
I have not heard, but I'm sure in the foundation meetings, there's a foundation meeting Tuesday there. They'll talk a little more about that. They talked a little bit about that last year because they have it. If they're at Dover, they have the side-by-side fields, and I think at least last year they were mixed. They want to highlight on one field, but it is a long night, especially on a school night. So, but I'll get back to you on what they're planning on doing with that. Any questions about that? All right, so DLOA information, certainly Arbiter Sports. We're sending out a lot of emails using that. I'm trying to send out some emails of stuff that we would talk about in the meetings. That's for two reasons. A lot of it's repetitive stuff we talk about every year. We don't want to talk about it every year except just to gloss over it, but this way everybody's getting that information, so on and so forth. That's where your schedule will come from, and like I said, I will be posting our meetings in there as well. This year, a lot of you were already in the Crew app, which is an app on your phone. And I'm going to talk in another slide about how we want to use that. If you don't know what it is, text JP. He'll get you set up. If you don't have it on your phone, get it on your phone and all that. Our website, DelawareLaxRef.org. So I'm kind of reworking it a little bit. Some of the stuff's still a little bit old, but I added tonight's stuff. So right now, if you go over into the breaking news, you can get into our agenda and presentation for tonight. You also can get Kyle's presentation from his part of the meeting in a little while. Everything we've ever done is over here in training materials in different areas. And then the calendar is right here. For whatever reason, now it's going full out, so you can see our whole calendar. Sometimes you can, it only sets it through a certain date. You can always go to event calendar, and all of our stuff is on that calendar. The nice thing about it is you can download that calendar. If you have a Google Calendar, you can download it to your Google Calendar. I think you can also make an export and import it into your calendar if you want to put our events in there. So that is our website. We also have the Facebook page. Okay, so that's kind of reaching out to other people. We're getting more and more hits. It's been more and more active. Did some stuff in the off season with a few plays to try and reach out to coaches and talk about consistency. And then we also have Twitter and Instagram at DLOA_Lax_ref. The Facebook page, that's the link, facebook.com/Delaware officials. You don't have to be a member of Facebook to go view it. So it's like a website. You could go look at what's there. If you are in Facebook, you can like it, and then you'll get updates and all that from it. Right? The Crew app, talked about it. So this is a communication tool. You can access it from a smartphone app. You can from the website. I think once you set it up on a smartphone app, our math teacher struggles with it, but we'll get him straight. So we're going to use this it's good for group or one-to-one communication. So whole group, we can talk about meetings, events. JP, instead of sending out an email to everybody, can say, hey, I'm struggling right now. I need somebody to go to Del Mar. I'll give you, a pizza if you go down there, whatever. It's a way to get to everybody. We're going to do some training stuff on there. So I've already created a you make the call kind of section, and I will probably start tomorrow, and I'll put up a video kind of like what we saw here, and we'll have a chance to discuss it. Because I feel like a lot of guys who like our page on Facebook don't want to discuss the plays on Facebook. But this way, it's a private area, where we can talk about things and hash things out and share opinions and then kind of come to consensus and hopefully be consistent. And then the last thing, and I'm still working on this, and I'm going to talk about it in a future meeting, but we always have that issue where you have that one field that, there's an issue with it. Either the substitution boxes aren't right, the table's too close, the midfield line's not right, and we keep going there and letting them slide on it, letting them slide. So here's the way, you're the referee and you go to school and they got a brand new turf field, no midfield line. I told the AD they had to have a midfield line by the next game. Told JP, we put it up there. Then the next crew knows, I'm going to that school. They've been warned. Coach, you were warned. We got a message, you were warned. We can talk about a lot of different things. There's good about it, stuff like I just talked about it. And then there's stuff that I'm scared of, like talking about a specific, number 4 on Hodgson. I hit him for 4 minutes for, 4 different big cross checks. He's out of control. Now, if we do that, are we setting that kid up the next time? He went in, he got coached up, he comes out. The first time he gets coached to a kid, oh, shit, there's number 4. Boom. And that's what I want to avoid. So I'm going to talk to JP a little bit about it. If any of you have ideas, send me emails. I want to figure out a way to talk about these situations we have so that when we do our pre-games, we maybe go in with a little knowledge, but a little knowledge can be a bad thing too. Does that make sense, kind of where I'm going with that? I want it to help us. I don't want it to hurt the kids. I don't want to set kids and coaches up to fail right off the bat, because they had a bad game and somebody posted in our crew app about it, and then we go out there and then now he's going to have a bad game. So, and then the other thing too is it's like a one-to-one. So if I need to text Brett, I've got to actually text him. But if I need to text Fu, and I don't have, Fu's on my crew, and I don't feel like going in, I don't feel like trying to find his number in the Arbiter. I go on the crew app, message Fu, boom, it's like a text message. Okay, I can send messages to my crew. Hey, I'm running a couple of minutes late. Here you go. The only thing that requires is if you have the app, which almost all of us do, you set your notifications. I know it's a pain in the ass, and every time somebody puts something in there, you get a little notification. But from March till May, if it really helps you and it helps us, it's a good thing. So you can go in and set notifications so that you get a notification when it comes. All right? Your membership. Real quick, everybody should have paid their dues. We all pay dues. See Dean. We talked about meeting and training attendance. That's required. The DIAA requires you to take the annual NFHS test. For whatever reason, there's a new person down there administering it, and they decided we're not going to start taking it until March 18th, and it ends on April the 15th. I don't see a lot of sense in that because you don't have to take it till there's 3 weeks left in the season. Yeah. But that's what they've done. So you'll get more notices when you have to take that test. You take it in the DIAA Central Hub, we get the results. If you take it for another association, you'll forward the results page to DLOALax@gmail.com. And our secretary for the year, Mike Hernandez, will give you credit for it. So if you take it, when you take it through the Central Hub, no need to tell us. We get the results. If you take it somewhere else, like you take it in SLOA or you take it in Bayside or you take it up in PA, you just send us the results and we tell the DIAA you're good. The concussion course, and Mike will get it out to everybody if it's due or we don't have a record of it for some reason. So there's a course on nfhslearn.org. Okay, you take the course, you send the certificate again to dloalax@gmail.com, you get credit. It's a requirement for the DLOA or for the DIAA. We're going to require that you take it by March the 15th. If you have questions about that, call Mike. He'll get you straightened out. At the bottom here, the bottom part has to do with USL certification. So we kind of set a date last year to get everybody certified. A lot of you guys have started working on it. We need to get everybody current. There's a lot of great reasons why we want this. Many of the training resources that we're using and our certified assigner and trainers are getting from US Lacrosse. So that stuff doesn't always come free. There's people at US Lacrosse that work and actually put together a lot of the materials. Last year, there were 4 or 5 really good webinars in the middle of the season and all of that. To get certified, you have to take the boys lacrosse rules course. And I'm going to send an email and arbiter out about this so everybody knows. So once you have a membership, you go to learning.uslacrosse.org and you complete the rules course. That's a one-time thing. If you took it a long time ago, it's revamped and very good. I enjoyed taking it. I learned a little bit. You know, it kind of keeps your mind fresh with everything, plus adds in new rules and things. And then the annual, you have to take a test every year. Now they have the NCAA test in there and a federation test. So you take the federation test with the IAA, take the NCAA test with US Lacrosse. You haven't taken the same test twice. And for most of us now, we're doing a lot of summer stuff, and there's going to be more and more this year. They're using NCAA rules. It's a good way to kind of be ready for that. Annual training, you're here, you're getting annual training. You attend our meetings, you're getting the annual training you need. And then you have to be observed once for your current level. Okay, so I'll send this all out. We really want to get on this and make sure everybody's set up. Plus, you get some great insurance through US Lacrosse. So once JP gets around to getting the arbiter straightened out and you get your schedule, and then, you know, all of a sudden you hurt your back, you hurt your foot, you know, you need some kind of surgery, there's schedule insurance that would cover your schedule. So if you have a schedule on the books, you can get your schedule paid for. Okay, this year we're going to start an observation program. We have 2 US Lacrosse certified assigners. We have Karen, and we also have Stuart Martinez. For the senior guys, it'll mostly be Stuart will be observing you. He's a 25-year DLOA veteran, very good official, great insights. We're going to ask that every official have a successful observation once every 3 years. You can ask for additional observations for your own personal growth and development, increase your US Lacrosse level. And the way it works is the observer gets half of the game fee for the game that you're observing. And that comes out at the end in your check, so you don't have to pay him. And we'll put together a schedule of your observations. JP also may ask for some additional observations. That helps to determine playoff assignments. If for whatever reason, you know, we're getting some multiple, I'm not just talking one guy was mad at you, but multiple guys say, hey, you know, so-and-so showing up and, you know, they're all the brushes are slashes. We might ask somebody to go out and look at you. Maybe they're wrong, and maybe we need to kind of get you to think in a different way and help with our consistency. Those are all paid for by the DLOA. You don't pay for those if JP requests them. And we do observe a lot of the playoffs. Social media. On your table is a social media policy. It's also on the website where I showed you. It's basically stolen verbatim from the one that DLOA uses for college lacrosse. It's common sense, but guys on social media get themselves in trouble. You know, sometimes you push that send button when you're angry or you think something funny, something's cute, something's cool. And it creates issues for you as an official. It creates officials for us as a group. So most of it's common sense, okay? You don't want to be making comments about specific games, specific plays, players, coaches, schools, fans, etc. Okay? you want to be very careful what you post, what you like on social media. Even sometimes thinking you're saying something good, could be construed the wrong way. Okay. It is okay to participate in things like you make the call discussions, as long as you're not getting personal, sharing your opinion, learning, and all that. So that's on the table. It's on the website. If you have any questions, just ask. Okay. Contract updates. I think we got $1 this year in our game fees. So that should mean $2 in double headers. I'll confirm with Chris. And then the other thing is, okay, so we talked about scrimmages. Several groups are attempting to get the bylaws changed to allow for paid scrimmages. A lot of schools want to pay us for scrimmages. DIA rules don't allow them to pay us for individual scrimmages. Okay, we're the only area around that doesn't pay for scrimmages, get paid for scrimmages. We can request a donation for multiple team scrimmages. Okay, what we call a play day. They call multiple teams. So 3 teams get together, they play a bunch of games. We can send officials, we can get a donation. That's how we've been funding the banquet. That's why the banquet comes at no or very low fee to you guys. Okay, so this year, we're not working any single scrimmages. So 2 teams get together and want to do a scrimmage, we're not going to do them. Okay, other groups have done this. Basketball did it. We want the ADs to feel it enough that they'll join us. We've already made a proposal to the DIAA governing body, because it's not a contractual thing. It's actual kind of in the rules, which is part of the code of the state. So we need to get some verbiage changed. So we don't want to do single scrimmages. So we need to be together on that. So even though, the Newark charter coach, he says, hey, Goodwin, can you come out and officiate our scrimmage? Sure, why not? No, I cannot. And you can tell them why. We're not doing, and we're not asking to get paid full game fees for scrimmages. I mean, the proposals that we made to them are like $25, $20, an official to pay you, not to pay the association, not a donation. You should be paid for the time you go out there. Yes, we need scrimmages to get loose and warmed up, but we also should be compensated. You're putting you're going out there with your equipment, you're spending time in training, you're using your gas, your car, all that. It's not a free deal, and we're professionals. So I'm going to ask you, if anybody approaches you about doing a scrimmage, tell them you can't. If they continue to ask, send them to JPID. Last year we were able to get a couple set up. They didn't really understand, but once we told them, we'll call them over. Boom, now we got to play that. So that's all good. Are there any questions about that? Good. Uniform requirements. I sent a thing out about uniforms. I'm not going to go through it a million times. I think most of us understand the uniforms, except the 2 guys who were at Hodgson for the fight last year who looked like they had just come from the Foot Locker. Okay. Kevin Hawkins will be at the clinic, and he will have equipment. Okay. Some of you ordered the uniforms. I'm waiting for those to come in, the sublimated stuff. The big thing to me is you have a flag on your pocket. All the rest of the patches are optional. We are moving away from the big super DIAA patch. There's stuff about uniforms on the website. And then the biggest thing just is we are dressed the same. Short pants with short sleeves, short pants with long sleeves, long pants with short sleeves. Does anybody see a picture there of an official with long pants and short sleeve shirt? Does anybody see a picture there of an official with a short sleeve shirt with a black undershirt under it? So it shouldn't show up on any film that's shared with us, right? We're all good with that? Everybody looks the same. If you guys can't decide, your referee and the crew decides. Also, and I sent out the thing, I'll send it out again because it closes. We do have the DLOA store open. The nicest thing in there are hats, which are these hats. Okay, so they're nice Richardson stretch hats. They have the DLOA on the side. They have our tribute to Doc on the back. They're on there, and the jackets. Can you just hold my jacket up? So these are the kind of on-field jackets. Come with the logo. They got a lot of extra pockets to put stuff. They're warm. Okay, they're pretty much waterproof in most cases. Okay, it's fine to wear these with long pants. It's fine to wear them on the field with short pants. It's not fine to officiate a game with these in short pants. If you don't have this jacket, you can't afford it, don't want to buy it. Any black jacket is fine, as long as it doesn't have, a big, huge North Face logo or something like that on it. So all black jacket, we're good. Everybody got that? If you need a jacket and you guys don't want to wear a jacket and you have a reversible, you have one of those, that's fine. That's a long sleeve shirt. Everybody has to wear that. Any questions about uniforms? Game days. Okay. 48 hours, the referee contacts the school. JP and I talked about it. I think it's very important to do that this year with all the changes to the arbiter. Okay, this is a national thing, and there's going to be some issues with sites and fields and things like that. We don't want to get stuck in that. So we're recommending you email the AD 48 hours ahead of time, verify time, location, single game, doubleheader, whatever.
Just make sure the addresses may not match up. It may say Newark Charter, but they may be playing at Hope Church. So if it says Newark Charter, because of the changes this year, I may miss that I didn't change it to whatever the address is of Hope Church. So when you contact the AD, make sure it is at the school or if it's at Hope Church. Just make sure the site. Just want to make sure you're playing in your stadium or you're playing on your football field. Just make sure you know where they're playing. It's only the referee. Only the referee contacts.
Only the referee contacts the school. 24 hours or more, not less, more. Okay, on field judge, whoever the lowest guy in the crew, okay, contacts the crew. Same stuff. Your very thing, time, location, number of games, give a contact phone number. Okay, confirm what you think the uniform and meeting place should be. Okay, everybody confirms. The referee may initiate part of the pregame, and we're going to have a whole session on pregame at one of our online meetings. All right, that communication is super important. All right, we should all be there at least 30 minutes prior to the starting time, dressed and ready, and hold a pregame. Okay. Even Dean and Mike, who worked 8 million games together in the last 75 years, should have a pregame because every game is a little different, okay? It might not be as extensive as a pregame I might have with Ken because we haven't worked together in about 4 years, okay? But you should at least have some conversation about what your expectations are in a game, what's going on, questions about rules, situations, things like that. We want to be on the field 20 minutes prior to the start. You're meeting with the head coaches, crew cards. They're in the box back there. Make sure everybody gets a pack of them. If I need to make more, I've got 8 aids this year. It took about 1 day to get them all cut out, so it's not hard. Make sure you show the coach on the back the survey. That survey is important. We get good stuff back from that. Okay, you're meeting with the captains, meeting with the face-off middies, all through the whole year. Okay, meet with those face-off middies. Okay, it's a great way to start a relationship. The players you have the best relationships with should be those face-off guys because you see them the most. Start it off at the beginning of the game. Make sure everybody's sticks are legal by your rule. Okay, by your not your rule, but your judgment. Okay, nothing worse than banging a kid early in the game because he comes out and you don't think his stick is legal. Take care of it before the game. It saves a lot of trouble. Meet with the table every game. Confirm they have a horn. Super important now. Okay, make sure they have a working horn. Go over penalty timing procedures and the quarter procedures. That's important, especially if they're using a manual horn. Half these girls sit there, 0. And you don't get a horn. Then you get a goal. And then you got a oh shit moment, right? So make sure you're talking about that. Go over foul recording. Make sure they understand what the fouls are, the difference between personal and technical. Help them out. It helps you. And then after game, post-game debrief, referee completes hopefully only the game report that we require and not the one that goes to Bill Caddy. But if so, he has to fill that out. And then the part that didn't make it here is the group hug part. Right? We should be getting together, socializing, hanging out, getting to know each other.
On the post-game report, that's when the referees, the umpire, and field judge should also determine for our sportsmanship award, we have a rating of 1 to 5. Obviously, most games should be between 3 and 5. If anything less than 3, it really should be explained to Greg or JP. But it's really important because the voting tallies are so close that we really need you to put some time into it. You know?
So it's a good question to ask, even if you're not going to go out and have a drink, as you go off the field, what would you think about sportsmanship? What would you give the home team? What would you give the visiting team? You know, and then he can put that in a report. That's important. That sportsmanship award is a great
Hey, Mike,
award.
who won last year?
Bill Castle.
Oh, that's right.
Who
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
show up at the banquet to get their award?
It doesn't matter. Who won? Say it again, Mike.
Bill Castle.
That's right. That's right.
Myrna was a close 53rd. All right, polar bear plunge. I've sent this out a lot. It's near and dear to my heart. I have a daughter with developmental disabilities. She benefits greatly from Special Olympics. I would like this group to really, be out there to help support them. So we've got a team right now of JP, Brett, myself, NK, and Mike Hernandez, and I think Chris Nutter should join us. So we're gonna make sure he does. We would love you guys to join us, okay? There's a QR code to our site. I'll also send an email out tomorrow with the site. But if you want to get a sweatshirt, you have to register by tonight. So if you want to hit that QR code real quick, or see me afterwards, I'll give you the thing. If you're not going to make it, you can go to that site and you can donate money to our effort, okay? I want to thank Frank, Mark, who left, and Bill Caddy, who all have donated money to our team. So right now we are a little past halfway to our goal. So if you can't make it next week, or you happen to be, well, it doesn't matter it's a Super Bowl. We made it back in plenty of time. Okay, it's very quick and it's fun, and it's going to be perfect weather next weekend. All right,
Be worse than last year.
Jeez. Everybody got that? Please join us. So with that, that's the end of my business part. We're going to keep moving because the first meeting always runs a long time, and I want to get you out by 8. I told Kyle he had 27 minutes. No, I told me he had 15. But Kyle, come up here for a minute. Before you start, we want to welcome you back. So, those of you that don't know Kyle, and this is an interesting thing with Mike.
To do the rest of these just kind of from between the midline and the end line on the opposite side of the field, so you're not messing with the benches, you're not talking to the coaches and players or anything like that. You're just focusing on you and kind of getting your warm up going. So these are broken up into starting at the midline, going to the end line, right? So you start with going back and forth, and then that transitions halfway into buckets, going like that. So the end line, turn around, same thing, go back, high knees, buckets. There we go. And then again, light to medium, doesn't have to be anything too aggressive. And then straight leg, kicks. A little bit like that. Good. And then further working on the kind of hip opening. So knee up, out to the side, knee up, out to the side, up to the side. Same thing, going back, and then what do we say? Sideways shuffle. So then just going sideways, right? Sideways, then halfway through, turn around, going back and forth, up and back once, and karaoke. We're crossing over, then turn into a back pedal. A lot of these, you can, it doesn't have to be exactly like everything we're doing, but it's really focused on kind of getting you moving and trying to represent some of the motions that you will actually do while you're fishing. A lot of it's kind of the, twisting and turning, looking back, not necessarily kind of picking your knees up or anything like that, but you never know if you have to go for a full sprint. And then the last thing is the jog sprint. So that's, again, that transition, kind of, it's got like a loose ball, you're coming up on the play, and halfway through, going right into the sprint. Pausing, same thing, going, turn back around. Again, that's just a good kind of list of things that covers a lot of different motions to, get you ready for moving. That's the dynamic portion. You have something?
Well, I was just going to say, I think one of the things that most people don't realize is that you see a lot of guys who stand around on the sideline. and do these stretches. While they're cold stretches are going to cause more injury than this dynamic exercise that Kyle's talking about. Dynamic meaning that you've got the blood flowing, and then you can slowly ramp up the intensity of it. But standing around the sideline doing nothing but talking to your partner and trying to stretch is not going to be beneficial. More chance you're going to hurt yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, like you said, getting yourself moving, because you're going to be running around on the field. You're not going to just stand there on the field. That doesn't really translate very well. But with that said, is the next round of static exercises to kind of further work, the legitimate physiological kind of elongation of your muscles to further prepare you for exercise. So you start with dynamic to get the blood flowing, get yourself moving, and then you can go into the static exercises, which help, again, kind of further stretch you out. So hamstring stretch. Actually, yeah, we've been sitting here for a while. Everybody stand up. We're gonna work on these together. Find a little bit of space. That's okay. Yeah, we're not about to officiate a game anyway. Yeah, exactly. So hamstring stretch. One thing that is a very common mistake with a hamstring stretch is everybody bends over just their upper back to try to go down. The hamstrings don't stretch when you do that. Think about trying to touch your belly button to your thigh. There you go. Going over, nice and easy. And the key with this is feeling slight tension. Okay, you come up. Feeling slight tension, and it shouldn't be painful. That's how Mike stretches that anyway. Yeah, there we go. So that's a hamstring stretch. Calf stretch. If you have something to hold on to, like the bench or something like that, you're more than welcome to use it. But if you can do it, just kind of standing out in the open, that's fine too. Having that back leg straight, forward one, bent just for comfort. And then really feeling the stretch in your calf. There you go. 3 times 30 seconds for all these. Switching it up, keeping yourself even. Good. And then the next one.
Shouldn't we have started sprinting before doing this?
Yeah.
We're going to send everybody on the side.
Yeah, exactly. Next one, quad stretch. I do. If you have something to hold on to, you can do that. If not, pull it up. Hold for a second. Do all the time. Take your time.
That's like age.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
He said, I'm not kidding.
And then, so that's another point I wanted to make for the dynamic warm up as well. A lot of like the high knees, you're going kind of up and down really fast. If you feel like it's a little bit too tough to kind of sustain like that jumping repeatedly, just marching is fine. You don't have to necessarily have like both feet off the ground at once. The same thing with like the butt kicks might be a little bit tough. And then so one thing that everybody forgets about is the insides of your legs. So going split stance like that, and then leaning to one side so you feel the stretch on the inside of your leg. And again, you got the bench to hold on to, something like that if you need it. And then switching back to the other side. Feeling the stretch on the inside. It's really important. And then the last one out of all of them is, it's kind of a hard one to describe. Either lowering down into a deep squat, again, hold on to the bench if you need to, or just kind of, like stretching out the insides of your legs further. Kind of optional. I like to throw that one in there because I know it's like helps me. It stretches out my low back and everything. But it's just kind of a good overall stretch if you feel up to it. With that said, life does not always give us a nice clean 15 minutes before the game to to stretch and everything. So the exercises with a little asterisk next to it are the ones you should absolutely do at least at minimum. So on the first page, jogging, getting yourself moving, at least kind of getting those dynamic types of exercises and warm-ups, to get the blood flowing. So jogging, the straight leg kicks, again, to kind of focus on the hamstrings. And then, the sideways shuffle to get, to get your glutes. And then the last one with the static stretches is the hamstring stretches. Hamstring is probably the most likely muscle group that you'll pull if you just get out of the car and start sprinting, cold. So, yeah. Any questions just with the exercise? Pretty straightforward. Okay. So now into the kind of nutrition. Yeah, you can sit down. Thank you for participating in that. So now, again, disclaimer, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm relatively familiar with all these things, but everything, all this information is from US Lacrosse and from the handouts that you'll see online. And I highly recommend reading. It's only like 4 handouts that are maybe 2 pages each, but the information within them is, a lot better than I'm going to deliver it. So I recommend it. So hydration, very, very, very important. John Kovaleski, I don't know if you had any research on it or not, but would always tell us as athletes, hydration starts 24 hours ahead of time, which does have some truth to it. So starting with the 24 hours, you want to make sure that you're hydrated so you're not playing catch up. And that's for cold days and hot days. A lot of people don't realize that even with like cold weather, you still, lose that kind of water through, just like evaporation and, exactly through your mouth and through breathing. So in the early days, I did want to make that point of emphasis. It is very, very easy to get dehydrated early on, and that dehydration, takes down your energy level. It affects your judgment and your decision making, which is kind of a big deal when you're on the field, having to make calls and whatnot. So game day hydration. I know you guys have probably heard like the 8 cups of water a day, something like that. So they usually say that because we're awake for 8 hours plus, whatever. Within, so like 8 to 16 ounces of water 4 hours before practice and games, or for us actually going to officiate. It's just kind of a good like guideline to follow. Always having a water bottle with you throughout the day. During exercises, drink according to your sweat rate. The sweat rate, a lot of people sweat more than others, so that's kind of something you want to take into consideration. And then afterwards, making sure that you're rehydrating after any kind of exercise. And if you are dehydrated, you can tell because you're probably having headaches, dizziness, dry mouth, thirst, decreased urine output, or dark yellow urine. One of the easiest ways to tell if you're dehydrated or not is to check to see what color your urine is. If it's really dark, then you kind of have to unfortunately play that catch-up game a little bit. But that's a really good, good way to kind of monitor yourself. Let's see. That was all I wanted to say about that. Yes. Okay. Yeah, we got that. Cool. So now another common question is, when do I use a sports drink like Gatorade, Powerade, All Sport, anything like that? That's the it is true that on like kind of hotter days, or if you're kind of more of like a heavier sweater, like a salty type of sweater, it's not a bad thing to consider using sports drinks while you're actually completing that activity. Again, according to US Lacrosse, if you are exercising at a medium to high intensity, so again, higher than like not being able to hold a conversation while you're running because you're focusing more on kind of heavy breathing, that intensity. If you're exercising for continuously longer than an hour, so some days are those hot days when we just have like the back-to-back games, varsity, JV, salty or excessive sweating, like we said, or the higher temperatures or higher humidity. And the only difference, or not the only difference, the significant difference is, bless you, from just drinking water to having that sports drink is the extra carbohydrates that you get into your body, as well as the electrolytes to kind of replenish yourself as you go. And then let's see what we say. 30 grams of carbohydrates, and that doesn't always have to come in the form of Gatorade or a sports drink or anything like that. So it's kind of small right now, but some of the examples of competition food are like mixed fruit. It gives you about 25 grams of carbohydrates to get close to that 30 grams per hour. Crunchy granola bars, energy bars, Cliff bars, graham crackers, the energy gels and the energy chews. I don't know if you have seen those Gatorade mixes. And then you have your sports drinks, and then energy jelly bar, beans. Oh, the jelly beans. Yeah, I've seen those. What?
Peanut butter sandwiches on there?
That's, yes. Not during the game. Ideally, Dino just kind of pulls something out of his pocket, and then, that's why he has the 4th pocket. Exactly. But that is a very good point, and that brings us to our next point of pre-game and post-game meals, and again, how to set yourself up the best to actually have all of your energy and whatnot. So pre-game and carb loading is not all about pasta. Sometimes it is appropriate, when done correctly for like high-level athletes, or if you're running a marathon or something like that. But it's, common misconception. Pasta's not bad, but it's not everything. So other options that US Lacrosse recommends are, brown rice, potatoes, quinoa, things like that that have, like substance. It's not just, you're not, food crushing, Cheerios or something like that, right before a game. You want to really get yourself like the highest quality, nutrients, or peanut butter and jelly sandwich, something like that. And then for post game, carbohydrates and protein for recovery, chocolate milk. There's that cereal for post game. Quinoa or granola with yogurt, apple or banana, and peanut butter. All those things for there. And then the math on it, again, I'd highly recommend looking at the actual handouts. So eating pregame from 2 to 4 hours prior to the game, you want to give yourself a pretty solid meal. It wants to be high in carbohydrates, medium in protein, and low in fat, ideally. And then, relatively moderate in size, so not eating like an entire Chipotle burrito before you go into a game. And then, so the emphasis for the pregame is kind of the higher on the carbohydrate side, because that's where you get the nutrition. And then for post-game, 15 to 20 grams of protein within an hour of exercise. That's where that kind of chocolate milk or like cereal with milk comes in. And then within 6 hours of exercise, the high carbohydrate meal to kind of get yourself refueled back up. So that's all we have to say about that. So any questions about all of that?
What about like that 5-hour energy wrap? Would you recommend having one of those before a game?
Or 17 during the game?
Yeah, some people like it.
That's my Adderall, baby.
Yeah, I mean, it can give you like that little kind of spark energy if you need that type of thing. And some people need that stimulant, especially for like paying attention more and whatnot. I wouldn't recommend, eating or having one of those like every single day, but if it works for you, then go for it. Yeah.
Good try.
We're good. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. I'm going to skip this part, rules, changes, and notes. I will post the video in the next couple days. We'll get all this next Monday at the DIA clinic. But we are almost out of time, and I'm sure it'll lead to a discussion. The rule changes are all highlighted in your book. JP will go through us with them at the meeting, and then we'll have a few minutes after the clinic for question and answers and to talk about our end of how that applies to us. Okay? Is that good, JP?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Any new business? Anybody have anything to discuss? All right. So with that, we have the association gift for the year. So a couple years ago, we raised your dues. Remember that? And we told you that we were going to do a gift every year. So we started the first year with coins, and then we moved on the scorecards last year. Okay, this year we have a gift. But before we do that, I think Rob, Lauren, who else are my applicants from last year? Who else has been? And Mark, if you guys come up for a minute. Okay, we'll come to Rob. We're almost out of time. So after you finish your first year, and if you come back to the first meeting of the next year, you get your coin. A right of survival. And then for this year, our gift is to see if you measure up. So we have a tape measure for everybody, a DLOA logo. All right. The next time we raise your dues, all right. So make sure before you leave, you grab one tape measure. Don't grab them for other people. We'll make sure they get them at the clinic and all that. We only have one for each guy in the membership. But this should help everybody. I think it'll look nice on the back of everybody's belt. Okay. We good? Any questions, problems, situations? So we will see you on the 4th, 7 o'clock, Smyrna High School. Thank you.
Where street do you guys meet on, or what time? Is it over at lunch?
We'll have a group chat going.
I know you will. That's what I'm asking now before I leave.
We don't know yet.
Okay. Oh, all right. But just don't forget about me. All right. All right.
We gotta make sure Chris is letting us, that you show his house.
Okay.
Oh, no, I did. And then I read it, but,
How do I end the recording?
oh, really?